I'm Graham,
And I'm Corinne, and
and
we
we
are
are
too
too
talented.
talented. Yeehaw.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Today we're going to shift gears just a little bit, staying on kind of the same track as we were on, but maybe with a little bit of a different focus, more towards kind of hiring managers, founders of companies, talent acquisition, and we're going to be talking about job descriptions. And maybe some of the things that we hear from managers that stop them from creating one in a timely fashion
Mm.
to maybe having issues with overly generic ones or ones that get used over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, just some best practices around formatting and what should be included and what shouldn't. And, we have been focused on the job seeker kind of as our audience. I think this is a little bit of a shift because we also want this podcast to serve as a resource for internal hiring managers. At companies. So this is a little bit more focused on that. And it is right in line with the work I'm doing currently because I have started actually a new position. I am consulting with a company um, here. Well, not here,
Not here.
not based here in Colorado. I'm consulting with a company on their talent acquisition, recruiting, employee onboarding type needs, which is really exciting. And so this is something I'm actually doing for my work at the moment. One of the first things that came up, because when you jump into a new company that doesn't really have a recruiting team, but people still need to hire roles, you got to start with looking at job descriptions. So very timely, and that's very exciting. But what's going on with you, Graham? What's happening with Stride Staffing as of late?
Yeah. So I had my first contractor start this week. Yeah.
Woo!
So that was
We
exciting.
need I don't know.
Like fireworks emoji.
Yes. No, not an emoji. We need a sound.
So, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
some kind of horn or gun or ding, yeah.
Like an air horn.
No,
Err.
no, definitely
No,
not
you don't
that.
like my air horn.
No, you shot the air horn off at night and scared the crap out of me because I was all the way downstairs. That was not cool.
Yeah.
Definitely not an air horn.
Definitely not. No, but things are going well. It's a new year, where I'm starting to talk to some managers about 2026 and what their hiring is going to be for this year. The kind of the cool thing is I'm hearing about more stuff happening than I was last year, which is exciting. Remember, I started the year last year and was very quiet for the entirety of the month. So the first week back to have a couple conversations already, that's pretty promising, and I'm pretty excited about that. It's time for the market to improve for job seekers, and I'm here for it. So that's been good. How's it running?
Running is good. Had one of my higher mileage weeks in a while last week, around 67, 67,
Oh boy.
67 miles, 7,000 feet of climbing. So that was solid for me. 2 back-to-back very long runs, a 20 miler and a 14 miler. So on the weekend, and so I was very tired yesterday on my rest day. No, 2 days ago, and then I actually pushed my workout one day later too, because just recovering and feeling the work from last week, but it's good. This is starting to get to peak few weeks of training for Black Canyon here before the race is coming up with, I don't know, not that long, 5 weeks.
5 weeks. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, everything's going pretty good, and we started at Castle Rock Burrito League. If you
Yeah.
don't know what a burrito league is,
Which didn't even exist 5 days ago.
no, it didn't exist, but the Chipotle Burrito Challenge existed, Chipotle and Strava Segment Challenge, which then did not happen this year and was repurposed. You can go down a rabbit hole if you want to go look that up, but Castle Rock is participating, and I was always kind of bummed that there wasn't a Chipotle segment near us last year, so we created our own.
Yeah.
And Graham is currently the local legend on it. He is winning the contest right now, but it goes all the way through the month.
Yeah.
So it's only day one.
Yep. I did 19 times on the segment today during my run. We'll see if I can stay towards the top.
Do you want to win burritos?
Do
you want to win the contest?
I like the idea of like shoes as a prize and some of the other prizes out there. So Ben burritos would be cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's great. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. So we'll talk about kind of all things job descriptions. There'll be some areas where we kind of brush over a little bit. Like we were doing the prep this morning. We started talking about compensation, and you can go deep on compensation and where it goes and how you come up with it and all those things. We're not going to go deep on that today. We're just going to stick kind of in our lane of kind of the high level pieces of a job description. So I guess to start, why does job description matter for you?
Yeah, so I think that, job descriptions, yes, they are an outline of what you need to hire for the position. But beyond that, they're also an opportunity for you to figure out the ideal profile of who you need to hire along with your hiring manager, have a partnership and have a discussion, whether it's an agency working with the hiring manager or it's an internal recruiter working with that hiring manager. It's an opportunity for the person doing the hiring to really sit down and evaluate what is this person going to be doing day to day in their job, and to put that into a written form that then, beyond just getting hired, acts as the baseline of, what is expected of you in this role. So it is a document that I think is going to live far beyond just being a posting. It's going to be something that, that new hire is going to reference back to time and time again throughout their time at the company to make sure they're on track with what they're supposed to be held responsible for. And yes, most job descriptions have a line at the bottom that says not other duties as assigned or other tasks as assigned, because number one, you can't get it all into just one job description. And number two, there's going to be some evolution and some things that come up that aren't initially known. But for the most part, it's a really foundational piece of understanding what am I looking for? What's this person going to be doing? And setting the expectation with that individual of what, success is going to be in their role and what's expected of them. So it is really important to have it be accurate, to have it be realistic, and to not have it be a bunch of fluff. And so I think, we're going to talk through the different pieces, but starting high level, I just wanted to give a real brief rundown of the major sections of a job description.
Before we go there,
Yep.
and that's where I'd like to go next, I just wanted to kind of talk about just a couple things that, from a hiring manager perspective, a little bit more on the why. I think a good job description attracts the right candidate.
Hmm.
It helps you to really zero in on someone looks at this job and says, yes, this is me. I'm qualified for this.
Hmm.
It also hopefully kind of repels the wrong candidates who read it and go, "Ooh, no, this isn't what I do," or this is asking for something I simply do not have as a must-have, or something along those lines. And I think that those are two really important things, especially in this day and age of people getting so many resumes when they post a job.
Hmm.
Finding a way to really kind of make the job description such a way where it is attracting the right people and it is not attracting the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you definitely need to. And you need to not only attract the right people, but like you want people to be excited about the things that are on that list. That's like, not only do they say that's what I do, but that's like what I want in
Yes,
my
totally.
career. That's what I
Yep.
want to do. So, totally agree with that. Okay, so the high level kind of, if we're looking at the sheet of paper and we're looking at a job description, these are the sections you're going to have. You're going to have the title. We're going to go into some thoughts on that because that's important. You're going to have the location of the job. Uh, you're going to have, along with the location, is it hybrid, remote, on site? Have that information in there. You probably want to have who it reports to. It's important. It's important to people looking, and it's important to helping to understand kind of how the organization is structured, and is it, yeah, just knowing who you're going to be working for in the role. And then the big categories are usually at the top, a company overview, which should give you an idea of not only what the company does, but a little bit of insight into how they work, their culture, their values, just kind of like where they're at maybe as a company. Are they, a startup? Are they in a growth phase? Are they well established in their Fortune 500? That kind of stuff. Um, and then a job role overview, like a little summary, just like you have a summary at the top of your LinkedIn or your resume, you're going to have a summary that says, in a nutshell, this role is responsible for XYZ.
Right.
And that's usually more of a paragraph form as opposed to bullets. Then you get down to like what you're going to do in the job. These are bullets, hard things. And then you're going to look at required skills, preferred skills, certifications, and things that are maybe um, like benefits or add-ons or necessary or not, that are, yeah, like languages, CCNA, literally certification, Salesforce administration cert required, this, that, and the other. And then at the bottom, you're going to have the compensation and the EEO statement, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Statement, which I actually wrote for Cologix. Kind of
Mm.
changed that. And I changed it to be reflective of our values, but also we're going to talk about the language you use in the job description reflecting back to the type of culture that the company has. So that is, in a nutshell, what you need to have in a job description. Anything else?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
I mean, there's always going to be little things here and there individual companies will do in a job description, but I think from a high level, if you had to kind of blanket it out, I think it's great.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to go through each of those, and then also we'll talk about kind of how you figure out some of these things. But maybe starting with the title. The important thing about the job title is that it actually you need to actually make sure it aligns to what the general market calls what this person is doing.
Yes.
By that, we mean that there's many times when there are internal job titles that do not necessarily mean the same thing as what you would see in the market for that type of person. You had an example of this.
Yeah. So I had a client, really great client, who a lot of their titles were wonky internally. So I had a DevOps engineer role that they had, and DevOps basically is kind of somewhere between a software developer and a systems engineer. It's a pendulum. It kind of falls somewhere on that pendulum. This was not that. This was a network engineer needing a CCNA that had nothing to do with either systems or software development. How they came up with DevOps, I don't know. I mean, DevOps is sometimes used a little loosely, but in this case, it was flat wrong. So we ended up publishing it as a network engineer to find the right people. Because if we had sent it as a DevOps engineer, and you get some people who may not read the job description all that closely, they might just be like, oh yeah, I'm a DevOps engineer. Here you go. So now that's one more candidate that I have to look through that is not going to be a fit.
Yeah. So I guess just making sure that you're not using a really bizarre title, ambiguous title. Think about just think about what is like traditionally what this person's role is traditionally called or is called in the market in general. And I do think that could vary a little bit from industry to industry, but
Yeah.
just make sure that it aligns. And I think you'll find out pretty quickly if it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you can adjust it on the fly. But I've also seen if you have internal titles that are unique, you can post a job with a different title and you can say internal
Yeah.
title underneath it so that when that person's hired on and they're given that title, they're not like, what the heck does this mean? But you for all intents and purposes, you need to post it as the title that is what the job is actually like doing.
For sure. I had one more client that was interesting. They used to have a job called business analyst. And in the software development lifecycle, a business analyst is the person that goes to the stakeholders and gathers all the requirements for whatever project they're going to be working on.
Yep.
In this case, this was a financial analyst. It just happened to be analyzing the business. So they called it a business analyst.
Yeah.
But how confusing.
Yeah. Definitely two very different skill sets.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can even get that when you look at sales roles, an account manager or an account director could be very different skill sets depending on if they're doing a lot of inbound or nurturing of business and retention versus if they're actually going out and hunting for new logos, new business. That is, could be called an account manager or an account director doing either one of those things. And so, sometimes even adding an additional like piece of information. Account director, comma, new business. I'll put that on a job description all the
Yep.
time because I don't want someone who's a quote, they're called farmers in sales. I don't want someone who is just used to getting, nurturing existing business.
Right.
I need somebody who's going to go actively pursue new business. And therefore, I want that to be highlighted right away that this is what you're doing in the job.
For sure. And I think like what you were saying, when I worked for a company, they had the title account manager
Hmm.
for all salespeople. And I didn't want to hire an account manager or post an account manager. So I shifted the title to business development manager, which really made it easy. And then when we brought a senior person in who had a lot of experience, just titled him business development executive. It was a
Hmm.
high level hunter type role. So, but I mean, if you call it account manager, once again, confusing.
Yeah, totally. All right. So title's important. Also, okay. So then moving on, location. This got kind of completely muddled when we had COVID
Yeah.
because everything was remote. And I think that the point here is that, like, just I guess my advisement to hiring managers is don't limit yourself unless this is somebody who has to work in a warehouse, factory, data center, building, like with that equipment and needs to be on site. If their job can be done remotely, it behooves you to be open to various locations. So you can say, I ideally want to hire in these markets because we have a large presence or we have an office or something like that, and we'd like this person to be hybrid. But you might also want to say remote considered, because if you say that and you find the absolute best person to do this job and they do not sit in one of your chosen locations, you still can hire them. And if you have enough infrastructure set up to be able to accommodate that, it might give you the best chance of finding the ideal candidate.
Yes, but two caveats with that. So, I think those roles that are open to fully remote right now are the ones getting just absolutely spammed.
Hmm.
And I think right now, a number of those candidates, I would say 30-40%, are fake candidates.
Mm,
And I think so that poses an issue is how do you tell a fake candidate versus a regular candidate? And there's some really great fake candidates out there who can hide the fact that they're not real candidates. So I think that's one thing that comes more with a remote position. So one of the things that I've been hearing with some of my clients is, yeah, we're remote, but we're going to hire in a hub.
hmm.
So here's the 4 hubs that we've got. Well, we want to hire in one of those 4 places. They have to live there.
Yeah.
They never go to an office, but they have to live there so we can have coffee with them occasionally.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you leave yourself wide open and remote, anytime you hire a candidate in a state you've never had before, that's another state you have to become an employer of record for,
It's true.
which has its own tax implications and all kinds of different things. So that's one of the challenges of hiring in many different locations is you may end up having to file in there's some states and cities and counties like Hollywood, California, New York City,
California
Chicago,
in general.
California, where it comes with all kinds of red tape.
Mhm.
So just being kind of mindful of that too.
Yeah. And knowing that if you open that, you're going to have a wide range of salary needs as well.
Yeah.
Depending on where they live. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity to be both selective and kind of open, depending on what you need and what the position is. But listing a couple of locations that would be ideal is probably a good place to start. With something like remote considered, I think is okay too.
Yeah.
But then also, yeah, that depends on your hiring. As a hiring manager, think about this truly. Do you need this person in an office every day? I mean, if that's part of your culture, sure. That is going to limit you because a lot of people are now in certain types of jobs expecting to be able to have some level of flexibility, whether it's one day a week from home or something like that, that could, it could be a deal breaker for many people if they have to go in every single day. I mean, it depends.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing. I know a lot of big companies had a big return to office in 2025. I think this is actually where smaller and mid-sized companies can win for the war on talent
Hmm.
is offering some level of hybrid. It doesn't even have to be full remote. If you offer, 3 days a week in office, 2 days remote, that's that's meaningful to people, especially if they're working for a big company that they have to be in the office 5 days a week and they have to commute an hour each way and childcare and
Yeah.
pick up and drop off. I mean, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Okay. Again, who it's reporting to, it can just say the title of the person.
I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll end up maybe that person gets blown up.
Yeah. So reports to CFO, reports to VP of marketing, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay. So a lot of these things that we're putting into this job description, and really now it comes to the meaty part of it. It's important that you, as a hiring manager, work with either your internal recruiter to narrow this all down and to figure it out. Or if you're working with an agency, like lean on them. They have expertise in creating and writing job descriptions where what your role is sitting down and really thinking about like what is the day-to-day of this person? What does success look like? What are the skills needed to do it successfully? How many years of experience does this person truly need? Does this person need to have a degree, or is that just a nice to have? Is it critical to their job? Do they have to have certain certifications? Thinking about that and then just communicating that to whoever you're working with from the recruiting department or, the recruiting agency or firm. That's your role in it, is to really like take a hard look at, you know, what's the reality of the job
for
and make
sure.
sure that it's accurate and reflective of what that person is going to be doing. Because the worst thing ever is to get hired for a job and somebody comes in and they sit down and they're like, I'm not doing anything that I thought I was going to be doing.
Right. For sure. Well, and I think legitimately leaning on your internal recruiting department and or a recruiting firm is really important because a lot of times I've run into managers who get a lot of trepidation. They're like, "Oh man, sorry I haven't got back to you with that job. I'm just really struggling with the job description." I'm like, "Great. Let's spend 10 minutes on the phone.
Hmm.
You give me the details of what I need to do and I'm going to go create this thing for you."
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that because a lot of times the job descriptions that I get from people suck and I have to clean them up anyway. So this way I don't have to do that. So, and your internal recruiting group will feel the same way.
Yeah.
They would definitely like a hand and, they write them all the time. So they're going to be much better at it. And a lot of times it slows the hiring process down for the manager because they've got a lot of anxiety about getting the description out and getting it right. Forget all that stuff, man. Lean on someone else to do it.
Yeah. Or they have a lot of other things that they're working on and it just gets pushed aside. So the company overview, I think that's something that you with an internal recruiting team, like, just don't even worry about that. That should be a canned blanket. Let the recruiter create that. This is what the company does. It's very simple. You as a hiring manager, like, you don't need to have input into that section. Where you come in is the next thing. So I like to position it as like what you'll be doing in the job and some bullets, because I think that people want to know, like, this is my day to day. These are the major tasks I'm responsible for. And so I think writing it like that, as opposed to like, I don't know, whatever this position will be responsible for. It's like, what are you doing day to day?
Right.
Couple of bullets, I don't know, 3 to 5 bullets around the major big buckets of responsibility, I think is great there. And then requirements and or preferred skills is the next section. So this is where your years of experience, and you need to make sure that that's going to align with your compensation, but that's a whole other podcast. How many years of experience does this person need? And this is where being a truly like a kind of a trusted advisor comes into play with hiring managers, is helping them understand, you know, or pushing back. Like, do they really need that many years of experience? Yes, they do. Okay, because they need to know how to do all of these things, which are this certain, level of business acumen and skill set, and they require you doing all these things before it. Okay, that's fine. But I just had somebody say, probably a 10-year plus person, and I ended up putting 8+ years on the job description, because the difference between 8 and 10 years could be, from a salary standpoint, the difference between what we want to pay and not. And I don't think that like 10 years is the end all be all for what this person's actually going to be doing. So I push back a little bit on that. So just use I don't know, just truly think about, like, from a years of experience standpoint, like, mm, what is the minimum they could have to start with? Because you can always hire up from that.
Right, for sure. I mean, I think there's the other thing is making sure that you kind of gut check, fact check some of these things. I had a manager one time, this was 8 or 10 years ago, but they were saying they wanted someone who was a senior software developer with 10 years of React experience. Well, I kind of walked away from that conversation going, oh, okay. Well, then I found out React was like 4 years old. No one had 10 years. There just didn't exist before.
Yeah.
So like it was impossible to, but so fact checking some of that stuff on, what he was really, I think, meant to say was, I need someone with 10 years of total software experience. And then, yeah, a few
10
years
years
of,
of coding experience.
right,
Yeah.
not 10 years of React
Yeah.
experience when it didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And if you put something on a job description as a required, you have to hire a person with that. You have no flexibility. If you do not hire somebody that has that, you're out of compliance with the job. So these things truly need to be like if you're going to say this is the minimum, then you cannot consider somebody who has less than that or who does not have that for that job,
The only
unless
thing
you
you could,
change it.
yeah, the only thing you could do is change the job
You
and
can change the job.
retitle it
You
and
can
say,
change the job.
oh, the minimum on the senior position was 8 years. We found someone amazing at 6 years. Now we're going to, instead of calling this a senior financial analyst, we're just going to call it a financial analyst.
You can change the level, but that job posting also needs to be open for a certain amount of time before you hire. So it gets a little fuzzy. And so therefore, like, I think the lesson there is just always err on the side of like truly thinking about what is 100% required. And then if there's a lot of things that are nice to haves that you would ideally like, put those in the preferred section.
Sure.
Preferred skills, that is something that, okay, may or may not have. Great. This is my ideal person and they have this, but I'm not going to 100% require it. So preferred skills, that a good example of that is you might require a bachelor's degree for a certain job, and then an MBA or a master's degree is a preferred skill. It is something that if that person has it, maybe sets them apart, sets them above, warrants them getting a little bit higher salary, but we'll also consider somebody if they just have their bachelor's.
Yeah.
So I think that helps you because then you can really use the combination of experience and education. Somebody that has it's like, okay, I have a great finance person who just got their MBA in finance. That's a great candidate, but they only have 2 years of experience. I'm going to look at them, but I'm also going to look at this person who has 8 years of working experience, but only a bachelor's in finance kind of situation.
Yep, for sure. I mean, I think when we talk about must-haves, I think about that song, Looking for a Man in Finance. Her must-haves was looking for a man in finance.
No.
Trust fund was number 1, 6'5", blue eyes. Those were her must-haves for the person.
That's ridiculous. No, we're not looking for that. Number 1, you cannot put somebody's eye color. That goes down into what you cannot put on a job description or height or anything else. But yes, you're correct about the song. Those were her must-haves.
Yeah.
Skills and certification, same thing. So CCNA certification, Certified Cisco Network Administrator.
Man, look at you.
CCNA. Some of those things are critical. Like if they're working on certain things in the job that like you got to know how to use that hardware, that tool, that's,
and I think tech and engineering are certification heavy, whereas like finance and accounting, maybe marketing, some other operations business, it's more, I think education's more weighted, whereas certifications sort of maybe exist, but not as much.
True. If I'm hiring a Salesforce administrator, though, if they have Salesforce certifications,
Totally.
like,
but might not have a degree.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, degrees are interesting because I feel like more and more, at least in the last, like probably 5 to 10 years of my recruiting, I've really like, especially in the sales world, not like pushed not necessarily requiring a degree.
Yeah. Well, and I think it depends. I mean, finance and accounting, it's still very, very strict on that typically,
Yeah.
at least the people I'm talking to. You get out of that, you start to get a little more wiggle room.
Yeah, there are some amazing salespeople who do not have degrees. Our dog has joined the conversation. Hello, Pacer. Hello, Pacer. Um, all right. Thank you, Pacer. So yeah, skills and certifications. And then EEO statement, also something that you should not even think about as a hiring manager. That's an HR
Yep.
created statement, and it really just makes sure that it protects you from saying that you're gonna, I want to hire a blonde woman, and that's important to me, and she must be good looking. We're gonna consider everything, that's where your diversity, inclusion, belonging, regardless of age, gender, ethnicity.
Yeah.
We're gonna consider all candidates
Because
is
pretty
what that
brunettes
covers you.
need jobs too.
Yes, they do. And, yes, never mind. We're gonna go there.
Mhm.
Everyone should be considered equally is the point of that. And then compensation, so e a lot of states, including Colorado, require
Yeah.
compensation to be listed on a job description. It can be a range. It can be a singular amount or salary and one number. It can be what is your total package, meaning salary. Is there a bonus or commission structure? Do you have any equity or long-term incentive pieces to that? Benefits, all of that.
Right. Yes, for
So,
sure. I mean, I think if you're tight-lipped about your salary on a typical, you could give a pretty big range, if that makes you feel more comfortable. A lot of candidates do when they see a range, try to push for the top. I mean, one of the things that we've heard, and kind of heard you mention this too, putting a single number sometimes allows for some future flexibility and people not going all the way to the top. So there's different ways to handle compensation. I don't think as long as you're complying with the state laws, you should be fine.
yeah. All right. So those are all of the components. I think, one thing we were going to mention is that you can write your job description so that it is somewhat reflective of like how the company operates. If you're a really, really structured, rigid company, or you're very methodical, like
So you're Wells Fargo.
yeah, your job description should read like that. It should be very buttoned up and bulleted and all of that, and use pretty professional, kind of maybe formal language. If your environment is very different, for example, but there's a company called Gooder. You may have heard of them. They are a sunglass company. And they're actually, I think, the third or fourth startup that this individual, who's
I
the
heard that.
CEO,
Yeah.
um, actually has created. And this is really one that has stuck and been very successful. But Gooder, on their job descriptions, you can almost just sense the type of environment you would be part of by reading this. So they say about Gooder, we create and sell active eyewear for anyone. No slip, no bounce, all polarized, all fun. Interested in joining our team? Keep reading. Our values, we have two core values, fun and authenticity, and then they define them. So fun equals being shitty isn't fun, agreed. Taking pride in your work, finding joy in being great, and celebrating wins, and losses. Now that's fun. Authenticity equals focusing on being authentic over being liked. Parentheses, next level guru stuff, count it. So that is a very unique description. I mean, they put a fun fact in here. Fun fact, we do not allow email to be sent internally, carrier pigeons only. Just kidding, we use Slack. So right there, like, it's a heavy Slack environment.
Right.
Like
Which is good and bad.
yeah, but you know what you're getting into.
Yep.
And you know that it's like there's going to be a ton of humor. There should be people joking around, practice. Like it's just that kind of environment. But that also creates a very specific atmosphere and environment. And we know many companies who start to get a reputation for this is almost a little bit of a, I don't know, cultish
Yeah.
type, so either you love it or you might hate it. And that might be a little bit polarizing. But I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's like this is there was a lot of thought put into how these things were written. This is very detailed and has a ton in it, which you have opinions on too.
I
So
do. I think Whenever I see a 3-page job description, especially for like a junior mid-level role, I instantly think why and how much fluff is in here that really doesn't need to be in there. Um, legally, sometimes you have to put that, this position may have to lift up to 30 pounds and there's
Mhm.
long times of sitting. Okay, you have to put that stuff in there. I get it. But there's so many times where like it will go on it's almost like it's one job description for entire class of jobs. And if you breaks each one out in the same job description, it's like, super long, and it gives the finance manager's job description as well as the senior financial analyst, as well as the junior. You're like, just give me the one.
Yeah.
That's all I want. And it's really complicated to read. So I think each description should kind of stand on its own. And when in doubt, simplify.
Yep. Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Indeed.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullets just under leadership. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. About 25 bullets under the role specific for
Whew.
this job. And then the ideal candidate also has about 20, including things like loves to create order out of chaos, loves the work more than the paycheck, uh, thinks fun is being great, parentheses, not partying. And then the only thing I do appreciate in this is they do say the next steps, and they give you a very detailed, this is what you would expect in the interview process,
That's
which
awesome.
is kind of extensive. Basic questions, hiring team member, hiring manager, various leaders, 45-minute in-person final offer. But this is a VP level role.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is nice though, and I think something that also you need to define with that's the next step, and maybe another podcast is defining that interview process.
For sure. Well, I think we can kind of start to move towards the end
Yeah.
unless you've got more. One thing that I thought would be really important to add in here or to talk about, um, also putting some things, actually, there's two more things, adding some things about personality, the type of personality you think would fit well into the position, I think would be important. If it's a detail oriented position, make sure you put requires someone who's detail oriented,
Mhm.
or if it's going to require someone who's got a lot of tenacity because this job is super hard, making sure you're pretty honest about that in the description and talking through that. So putting some personality things on there, I think, goes a long way to have people know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And then the other thing is, as a hiring manager or a talent acquisition person or anybody who's going to be putting together a job description, AI has become really, really good. You need to prompt it really well. So my recommendation, if you have AI help build your job description, either take an existing one and ask it to improve it with extra information you want to add in, or you put in there kind of all the things that you want in the job description and ask it to, kind of fill in some of the gaps that are required. And then once you get it from AI, you need to edit it. And there's a lot of times where I'll put something in AI and it spits out a 2-page job description, and I'll say, please simplify this. And that's the first thing I'll do. And then it cuts it down half a page. And then I simplify the rest of it my own and kind of get all the fluff out of it. So really being an editor with what AI is creating, but AI saves a lot of time
Mhm.
creating a lot of language, or that's kind of you must have on there. So I would definitely lean into it. I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is wonderful for that type of stuff. I know there are other things. Gemini is supposed to be really fantastic. So that would be another good one to try. I'm sure there are standalone apps, but at this point, ChatGPT and Gemini are pretty good as long as you prompt it really well.
What about Claude?
I don't know that much about Claude.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of cool that it's named like a dude, Claude. um, yes, I agree. You can definitely use it as your tool. Just make sure that you're reviewing. You can take that data dump if you're a recruiter as from the conversation you had with the hiring manager, and then ask it to just consolidate it, that, and then start with that and go back through it and make sure it's an interactive process between you and whoever you're working with, whether it's an agency or an internal recruiter, to just go back and forth a few times on refining it and really make sure that you're both on the same page. And then that's going to help you guys both kind of level set what you're looking for and remind one another of how, what's important and what the ideal candidate looks like, which is going to help with the rest of the process. So,
Definitely.
and then one thing we wanted to say about maybe a common mistake or something to avoid is using internal language. So, using something that's just commonly said within the company but doesn't really translate to an external audience, acronyms that are company specific, just do a gut check of reading through and making sure that the things that are being asked or the way you're describing things are gonna make sense to somebody who does not work at the company.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's really important. Making sure that this is actually going to make sense to somebody who isn't familiar with the company.
Yeah, and I think, depending on what the market looks like, you can title these different sections in unique ways. You can say what you get, what you
Yeah,
get as
I've seen a
out of
number of companies
what
do
you
that.
get out of this job, what you're going to get, what you're going to help us with. Like, just the way that it's written can also almost be a bit of a marketing tool for the right hiring.
For sure. I mean, one thing kind of going back to that good or job description to be careful of in the language that you use, especially if you're using more fun language, like that one bullet that says you like work more than you like pay. The instant alarm bell that goes off in my head is, ooh, these guys don't pay well.
Which
Uh,
is funny because they put the comp range in there and it's high. It's great.
that's funny.
But I think, yeah, it is. It could turn people off if you
Right.
say things or them saying, like, "You're not an asshole," like, I mean,
Right.
it's just
Right. Yeah. Using kind of rough
do
language a
do
little
assholes really know that they're assholes? I don't know. They probably don't think they are.
Probably. Yeah, for sure. So being careful how you phrase things because they may have tried to put that in as something kind of cheeky, like you really want to work hard and kick butt, and your work
Okay.
product is really important to you more so than the pay. But someone may read that like I took it as, oh, this job pays well under market.
Mhm.
So just being careful in how you use the language.
Yep. Yep, agreed.
Awesome. Well, anything we need to wrap with?
No, I think always be open to if you put a job description out into the world and you're not getting the candidates you want or something is in misalignment to, be open to modifying it and updating it and then there's a lot more we can go into around comp and internal stuff. But I think like at the end of the day, just really thinking about like truly what the person's doing, it's going to be in your best interest to make sure that what you write in that is really reflective of, what the person's going to get into while also, having some kind of ambitious, things in there that people will be, yeah, excited about and just make it real and authentic to, who you are as a company.
Absolutely. Well, if you like this content and you want to hear more, please check out any of the other episodes that we've done that are a little more candidate focused. Give us a like if you're seeing this on YouTube. If you're following on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all those places we post just about everywhere, let us know. Give us a comment. Let us know were we wrong somewhere? Did we miss something important? We want to know. And if you have any specific questions, let us know. We'd be happy to read them on a podcast.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.